let's say hello to Chael P and see how he's doing. Am I right about this, Chael P? I mean, is there a part of you that's like, oh God, Ariel asked me, I have to do it because we're friends, but I don't really want to do this?
No, but you are half right on your get. I would say yes because it was you. That is true, but no. I actually look forward to doing your program. Ariel, I didn't realize how big you were. You talk about that I take a lot of your segments or I repackage them. I do, and they're my biggest numbers. I will take something that you talked about, say Ariel in my thumbnail, or even when I come on with you. One time you did a thing on Mean Street Coffee. I've never sold more coffee. I just truly didn't know. I didn't know. Institution. Aunt Evans sings your praises, tells me you're an institution, more so than Jim Rome. Aunt Evans said, but I guess I didn't really know that you've built this base. So I do look forward to coming to you.
Well, that's in large part because of you and what we did together. I mean, we built that platform with our hands, off our back. Are you wearing Jordans, by the way? What's happening over here?
For the shoes?
Yeah, what is that?
These are called.
No, those aren't Jordans.
Well, running. It says running, but that's not the brand. This is the second or third time that my shoes have been brought up in the last 3 or 4 months. I've never been cool shoe guy.
No.
And Brittany got me all new shoes. She got me 2 or 3 pair in one day from a very nice store called Mario's.
Okay.
So I don't know what the brand is. It's not like a Nike, but I appreciate that you commented on them.
Yeah,
I think you like them.
I do. I thought they were Jordans, which I was like, well, that's way too cool for you. Is your wife, Brittany, is she still styling you? Is she still dressing you? Like, does she leave the clothes out every morning? Every day.
Every day, all the way down to socks and underwear. She comes in and it's waiting in the closet. And she loves when you give her credit for that, by the way. She does work very hard. And some of those things I take for granted. Ariel, can I go? Another thing I'd rather talk about than my hot ass wife, but there's just one thing I don't want it to be too late, which is Perry. Who you just, Perry, I only got to hear the last minute, but then you referenced the press conference. Now I'm up to speed on that. And the reason I missed your Perry interview is because I was watching the press conference. But here's my question. Okay. If you covered it, I apologize for the redundancy. No. Here's my question. Ariel, they got to kick Tommy Fury. They got to do it now. They cannot wait till the last minute. They can't wait till the weigh-ins. They can't wait till the day. They can't let Fury keep calling all the shots. I mean, what he did to them in Madison Square Garden is irreprehensible. But no, he gets another $2 million and he gets to go to an even nicer location. It's really weird. But at some point, they have to take control if they want to be respected. And it's a hard thing that MVP's had. MVP is new, and boy, have they ever had to pay for an education. They've got a rougher go than anyone else ever. But at some point, they have to make it clear that they are in charge. And today, when he skipped the press conference, his second time, you cut him. You bring Perry in, and that is it. It's a mistake that MVP is making.
Have you ever seen something like this? Like, this is repeated. How many more times can this happen? How many, like, fool me once, fool me twice? And you know Perry's going to sell the fight. Like, do you think there's a big difference? I don't know. I guess Tommy's a big deal in the UK. It's a BT Sport pay-per-view. But at this point, I got to wonder, just cut your losses, right? Like, just cut your headache, too.
And when you say a big deal, I mean, let's be real fair here. That's not a main event fighter. That's not changing the airways. But I will share with you, I don't know. It's very hard to get people to come into the promotion business. Even if you're kind of you're kind of a street guy, which what it takes in that business, you got to go sit down with a money guy to back you. It's very hard to talk him into writing the check because it's such an organized mess. What Jake Paul has gone through for the contributions that he's made, but the willingness and the contributions he's willing to make. The way that industry has treated him, and even guys like Fury, who doesn't show up to a press, who gets a main event canceled, who gets rescheduled in a different and then doesn't show up again. I mean, this is terrible. This even by the low standards of the boxing business, is bottom rung. Everything they've done to Paul. If Paul can make it through just this introductory phase, the rest of his career is going to be so easy because this is abnormally difficult.
So if you were Nikisa and the crew, you would cut Tommy right now. You would say, Mike, here's your flight. We'll see you on the 26th. You would do it right now. You would do it today.
Well, no, I don't know about that. I would have done it an hour ago. When they get to the press conference and he's not there and the world's watching, that's when you make the reveal. That's when you scary to try to bring it in after and now it's going to call the yous and me's of the world that have already had the conversation, get us the right info, get it back out to our audiences. I don't know, man. I think they're in a little bit more difficult spot. But yes, they had to see that coming. He's already done it to him once. They had to see, hey, there's slight possibility when we get here, he's not here. Somewhere he missed his flight. Somewhere he didn't check into the hotel room. Just by example, they should have had word and should have had enough time to scramble and have Perry there. Yes, they should have moved on with it.
You know, the last time we had one of these sort of influencer fights, if you will, and someone didn't show up. I believe it was KSI and your pal Dillon Danis didn't show up, and they didn't learn the lesson, right? They went through it, and then at the end, he didn't show up. What do you make of this young man? Can I be honest with you, Chael, for a moment? Because you spoke to him after I spoke to him. You did that interview. I actually kind of feel bad at this point. Like, I feel bad. There's this video going around with this guy, CoffeeZilla, that scammed the scammer. Did you see this video? But the NFTs and all. And Dillon's done some shitty things. I feel bad. I feel like we're kicking a man while he's down. Like, I don't know. I'm not taking any joy in any of this. What do you make of it? I know he really looks up to you. This is not a bit, by the way. I don't want to see him, no one roots for this, right? This is sad.
No, I'm a little confused what's going on here too. And I'm okay with any direction. Hey, let's put boxing behind us. Let's fully get into this MMA. And we got the deal with Coker and Bellator. But I haven't been convinced that is the decision either. So I think just on a personal front, he needs to sit down and just kind of answer some questions to himself about what he wants to do. And then I think the rest of us that are supporters could come in and help. But right now, I'm not sure he even internally knows what camp, what trainer, what team, what weight class, what sport. I think there's a lot of real basics that we got to deal with first.
The truth is, whenever he fights, if he does fight ever, it's going to be a big deal now because of all of this, right? People are going to want to watch. They're going to either want to see him get his head knocked off or see if he's still, for better or worse, and it's been a lot of worse, I still think there's somewhat of, I don't know, a little bit of interest out there in seeing him fight. Do you agree, or do you think that ship has sailed at this point?
Oh, most definitely there is, but herein lies the problem. And most people miss this, which is, okay, if I'm a promoter, if that chance you just discussed exists and I'm the one willing to take the risk in exchange for the ROI, I got to put him on a card. Now, once I put him on a card and I do the place, I'm going to set the card. If I put him up here on top where everybody wants to be and he screws me, I now got to bring one of these boys up and we've got a problem. I just killed morale to let the world see the way this guy treated me. And I'm going to give him this spot. I'm putting him on a poster that only gets 4 faces. And I'm going to put his face to bring him to the press conferences, which only have X amount of microphones. But I gave him one. This is where the problem comes in for how you got treated and the way you're, it's a mistake. I mean, we see it all over the place. Jon Jones would have blown up the bridge. You talk about don't burn a bridge. He put C4 all over the bridge and would have detonated it if he knew how. He didn't know how, but he would have. For him to return at a raise into a world title fight, I'm just sharing with you, but it's a mistake.
Why is it a mistake with Jon?
Well, the last thing that you want is your champions turning the gun on you.
Uh-huh.
And then when they make that big bluff, we've only got 3 or 4 guys over history that it wasn't a bluff. They did it. And Jon's one of the ones that did it. That division is, I don't even know the champion of that division right now. And I'm not trying, Jamal Hill. But all these years later, still repercussions of what he did to walk in with a raise. You throw a temper tantrum publicly. You take your ball and go home. You come back with what you want and the exact same opportunity. I'm just sharing for you. People start looking around and seeing that. Becomes a problem real fast.
So what would you do if you were in charge and Jon wants to come back?
But this guy's into Dillon. I'm saying that's what the problem was. If somebody's going to get behind Dillon, right? I'm a fan. If I'm going to do a grappling event, I'm going to bring him in. That's a big risk. A guy that's already burned the industry. What if he does burn me? Now I got to take a guy that I put in a co-main event that I openly said, you've done everything right, but you weren't tumultuous enough. I wanted the bad boy in here. No, I'm going to move him. It's tough, man. You got to really make those decisions. So if you're Coker, you have no choice but to put Dillon as an undercard fight. Is he even going to agree to that? I don't know. But that's where you put him. You have no choice. And so to your point, if there still is a draw and there is a buzz, well, you didn't capitalize on it anyway. It's a tough spot.
What would you do if you were the UFC with Jon Jones, considering what you just said?
Well, I would do many things, but the first thing that I would have done is told him. I mean, nobody talks about their business. Nobody comes out and tells you what their contract is. Nobody tells you where your thresholds were and what you're going to make on pay-per-views. Nobody comes out and says the differences in this negotiation and that one, and he did. So, I mean, step number 1 is I would have reminded him that these are private. But 2, you really do have a real decision to make here. I mean, we had some options. We didn't need Jon. We, Ariel, you and I included, don't quite know what happened with Team Stipe. We just know it didn't go the way that other people wanted it to. So, and that created opportunity for Jon. Nobody went out of their way for Jon. They were going out of their way for Francis. They had a few guys. So I'm just sharing with you, at least they didn't start there. But no, you can't make an example out of bad behavior. You just can't do it. Here, 3-piece and a soda. One of the great marketing things our sport's ever seen, 3-piece and a soda. People thought they'll make the fight. They can't make that fight. You cannot let somebody go and do something illegal while filming it as a way of getting a reward. It's a mistake. And that mistake was made with Conor and Khabib and the dolly and the bus, which is why you have 3-piece and a soda. Had Conor and Khabib and the dolly and the bus not done a 2.4 in pay-per-view, you never would have a 3-piece and a soda. So you just have to look at these things, be the adult in the room, make sure bad behavior isn't rewarded. And in the case of Jon, it's a mistake. We can live with it and we can deal with it, but it's a mistake.
That is fascinating because I was just about to bring up the Conor thing and then you brought it up. So kudos to you for that. So then my question is, do you think they would have done a little more to keep Francis if they didn't have the Jon Jones thing kind of hanging there? If you couldn't go to plan B, which was Jon freaking Jones against Ciryl, do you think they would have tried harder to keep Francis?
Yes. I mean, there was some moving parts there. There's some moving points. Don't quiz me down. You read between the. If Adesanya had not re-signed and been so thrilled with it, if Usman was not given a rematch, I mean, there was things that happened that then didn't help Francis, and there was some teaming up that could have been done. But in this business, no one's out for anyone. No one's out for anybody other than themselves. They'll pretend it and they'll talk about it, but they're not. And this is a fine example. So, look, I think they worked pretty hard for him. And I would also like to say this in Francis's defense. I think he can come back. I mean, Francis didn't leave very politely. I never heard him threaten anyone. I never heard him even curse, in all fairness. Talk about Jon Jones would have detonated if he knew how. Francis didn't. And he just said, this isn't going to work for me. So if we do use those examples, I think there's room for Francis to come back. Matter of fact, I think that Nate Diaz's next fight is most likely going to be in the UFC. Compared to anything else, I think most likely that's where he returns.
Wow.
So free agent doesn't mean you're just out. It just means you can talk to everybody, including the UFC. And that part gets forgot sometimes.
You think Nate comes back? Like no other fight outside? You think his next fight is in the UFC?
Less now than I did a week ago because I thought, and I was right to think so, he was the leading suspect for Conor's return. So when Conor gets announced against Chandler, then maybe I got to loosen up on that a little bit. But moreover, I'm just trying to prove a point that a guy can come right back. Jon Jones would be a fine example. And I don't want to cut that off for Francis, right? There's not a lot of things to do at heavyweight. They suck. They've always sucked. Like people are asking, can Jon beat Ciryl? So here, let me explain something. Jon might have been the greatest fighter ever at a weight class that was competitive. He's now going with guys who suck. Of course he can be champion.
You think he wins that fight?
Oh, for heaven's sake. Yes, I think he wins that.
Wow.
I think he wins.
Man, you're on fire today. By the way, this is one of your greatest appearances ever. Go ahead.
It will be Stipe next. And that concerns me. You know, I hold Stipe in a very high regard. So I watch my tongue before I ever speak about him. But I will tell you, if he couldn't get the fight in December when they wanted to get it to him, then he can't get it in March when he wanted it. Why would he possibly think he's going to get it in the summertime? And I mean, I feel very confident telling you he's not. I think a closer topic is Stipe ever going to fight again?
Yeah.
Because he believes he only fights for world championships. And I think the company is making it very clear you're not fighting for our world championship. So at some point, it's just a matter of, do I want to do this? And we do have the Sergeys. We do have these guys that are coming in. We do have the return of Tom Aspinall soon. Like the heavyweight division is finally starting to find some balls. They don't have it yet, but they're starting to find them.
Can I just say something? Like the knowledge that you're dropping right now, I feel like we should be behind a paywall. I mean, this is you have never been more well versed in the comings and goings of the business. I know this. I mean, we did a show. I would have to brush you up on all of the comings and goings before the show. That's just, that's kayfabe, of course. No one needs to know that. Here you are just spitting fire, and you're leading me to my next question every time. Chandler Conor, you like this? Do you like the package? Do you like the tough thing, the 170 thing? Do you like the whole thing? Do you like the whole thing that is being put out?
Yes, I do. I don't know that I would have predicted it. I had that as my number 2. I thought they really would try to get Conor and Masvidal together. Now, we found out they weren't. We found out Masvidal's going another direction. But I believe they were still trying to do that. And then I knew that Nate Diaz was a real possibility. So, and then I would have had Chandler. So I had Chandler in the mix somewhere. I like the Ultimate Fighter. It's the greatest marketing vehicle this industry's ever seen. It still is. People like to say that about Conor. He used to be a big deal. Red Panning Night is still a real thing. He is still number 1, even if he's not where he was. And I think, but even if he's still in front of you. So, in front of everybody. So, yeah, I like how they're doing it. Sure.
Will you
I don't
watch?
love the fact that it's 170. I mean, at some point we have to do something serious here. When we have a pay-per-view, that's designated to world title fights. Well, in Conor's case, no, it's not, because he doesn't have one. He's not fighting for it. Okay, fine. But it's still designated as something that has to matter. It has to matter. And if we now don't even care about the weight class, we're going to take 255ers and we're going to do it at 70 and just pretend it's at 50. If we're doing that, we now don't care. But the placement of the card says we've got to care. The coming through the Ultimate Fighter, the fact that Errol and Chael are talking about 6 months in advance shows that we care. So I need a little bit more care from these guys. I need this to matter in some regard, whether you make it a number one contenders match or you got to do something. So they have to be fighting for some reason other than the world brings in a bunch of money. That story has never worked. Dana has never succumbed to that low of a level. But right now he's missing the care, and I am waiting to hear what it is.
And so Nate and Conor fought at 170, and those were gigantic fights, right? Over $1 million buys. So what's the difference?
Well, there's significant differences. I mean, don't forget the second fight only happened because the first fight happened. And the first fight only happened because it was on 9 days' notice, and they couldn't get Nate down to 55. And Conor had such big balls, he said, then don't come down. I'll come up to you. When he rematched it, he wanted it to be same. So, no, there for sure is a difference, not to mention Conor was on the tip of everybody's tongue for title opportunities. At 45, at 55, oh, wow, how about at 170? It's very different now. If Conor beats Chandler, he doesn't go into a title fight, unless he wants to, but he doesn't have to deal with Chandler for the title fight. He could have gone into it right now. So I'm just sharing, that's not where he's going. Chandler's not going to get a win over a guy who hasn't gotten a win in years, and that propels him to a title shot. That'll still make Chandler 1-1 in his last two. Why are we here? And there's lots of answers. There can be lots of reasons we come out and do this. I'm just sharing with you for that match right now. When we've thrown our hands up and said, it's not serious. We're not even taking it serious. We're not even doing it in a weight class that matters. Okay. But you still got to tell me why it does matter. You got to tell me why it does. And to bring in money isn't going to work.
Will you watch every week The Ultimate Fighter? Do you care enough?
Well, I used to watch it very faithfully.
Yeah.
I most likely will watch. I will at least know what's going on. I used to never miss Arrow. Back in 2005, went over my buddy Joel's house, would come on Monday nights. Mm-hmm. But you got to understand, I had practiced before then. So Randy Couture was the first ever coach. It was all my teammates. The Team Quest guys are now over here. We try to get it out of them every day. We try to get Lieben or somebody, Nate Cord. We try to get them to talk, give us a clue. They did not do it, man. They were so committed to keeping that a secret that every Monday it was a blast. It was a blast to go down and watch that, see that fight come. Some of my greatest fan in the sport was first ever season of Ultimate Fighter.
Wow. Yeah, it was right after Monday Night Raw, right? One of the great mistakes Vince McMahon ever did was greenlighting that to come on after on Spike TV, right? That he had to greenlight it, and he did because he didn't think they'd be a threat, and he helped create this competition.
Well, he pulled the green light. That's one of the great stories ever told too, with that Goldberg thing. But you're exactly right.
It's a crazy time. And by the way, this was reported today by Cole Shelton, I believe, of BJPenn.com. It's the same thing that I heard. I don't know if you heard this, but the plan is for the cast to be a mix of former UFC fighters and up and comers. So it's not quite the comeback season, but it's a hodgepodge of veterans who we may have heard of, who fought in the UFC, and people who are trying to make it there. I have to say, haven't been interested in Tough in a gazillion. I don't even remember the last season I watched consistently. Probably the Kimbo season, if I'm being honest. Or maybe the first women's season, the strawweights, because a lot of those people, Rose was on it, Carla Esparza, we knew them from Invicta. I don't hate the idea. Veterans, up-and-comers, not a bad idea, right?
I agree with that. Yeah, I think there's something special there to see a couple of faces that you kind of watch a few episodes just to get introduced to the cast. So, yeah, they could help us a little bit of the way, and we know that guy. Yes, I think that's a positive.
Now, what about this past weekend in Inglewood? There you are among the greats. I mean, this was by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Chael.
I did. And it meant a lot. It meant a lot that you had that photo. Thank you, Ariel.
That will always be, I look at that photo, that's my youth. Those are you are all the founding fathers. It's incredible. And my favorite part of the photo, if I'm being honest, is, and I actually wanted to start with this, but then we started talking about Perry. Can we talk about the glasses? I mean, what's going on with the glasses? I mean, these are a hot topic of conversation. Do you have them? Okay, I see you there. You're often doing videos. You're doing one championship videos. What is going on with these glasses? There they are.
Okay, I want to tell you. Yeah. I mean, this is a very personal decision. Now, I got glasses for my first time. I was 5 years old, but I got contacts at 6. Which I think maybe that's more common now. That was unheard of back then. I was extremely young to have contacts. So the point is, I used to be a glasses guy, but I came out of it. And back then, it didn't really matter how you looked. It was whatever your mom handed you. I go to get glasses now, but now they're going to be an integral part of my appearance for the rest of my life, right? I'm at the point I need glasses. So you got to get the right ones. So every night I would go online with Brittany. She'd have her laptop. We'd be trying to find them. Every time we traveled, we would then go to the local stores. So the problem when you're getting glasses here, these are a prescription. They're readers, 3.0. But the point is, when you go to get them in the store, it's just glass. It's no prescription whatsoever. So you take your glasses off that allowed you to see these exist in the first place. You put these on to look in the mirror, but you can't see yourself because these aren't prescription and you need them in the first place because you can't see, right? It's like there was an old Arsenio Hall joke that for VHS tapes, they used to give you a tape that you could play to show you how to get your recorder to work. And it's kind of the same thing with glasses. You want me to see myself in glass, but I can't see. So I get these home, Errol. The salesman told me they look great. Brittany liked them. I get them home. I get them to Lens Crafters. They put the 3.0 in. I then come put them on, and this thing in the middle, okay, Leah called this trendy, and I don't think trendy's good. And other people said I look like bubbles. Now, I was going to go to the one cool glasses guy that I know. I was going to go right to Hunter and say, Hunter, as cool glasses guy, are these cool glasses? I should have done that. I didn't. And now they made me self-conscious. I think you're part of that. People have been teasing me. I've actually got my new glasses are in and I go pick them up tonight.
What? Wait a second. I'm a part of this? I have made you self-conscious? Yes. Well, I just want to know what's...
But I've trusted you. And you want to know why I trusted you? Because I was working a yellow. Remember the yellow
tint? Oh, the yellows were great.
Tint, almost an aviator one time, and you loved them. And you told me how cool I looked.
Yeah.
So now I know you'll tell both sides. So when you said I'm not crazy about those, yes, I got new ones. I go pick them up tonight.
And what do they look like? Can you give us a preview? Like, what's the style?
This is the thing. Like this apparently is the thing that pushes them to, hey, look at me. I need attention. I didn't know a little different colored nose, but that's what I've been told.
And so are these the new ones? Are they as thick though? Is it just the same thing but without that middle part?
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, and the glass is a little bit different. I mean, it's still a dark frame. It's typical, kind of an oval shape. It's not, triangles or something goofy. Yeah. I mean, glasses are basically glasses, but maybe just a little bit calmer. There's something about that thing in the middle.
I love it.
That really made something too trendy. Look, you're looking for attention. Okay, fine.
I wasn't sure. Midlife crisis. I don't know what was going on. I just wasn't sure.
Not normally that guy, right? I make my own decisions, but no, I wanted people to like it. Maybe that was the 6-year-old little kid in me that used to wear glasses, but I needed something from my peers. I'm getting new glasses.
Will you tweet out a picture of you wearing the new glasses tonight? My
wife is going to film it, and we're going to put it on YouTube. Because they got to fit your face. Yeah, they do something with the ears. And I don't know that'll be a good video. My wife isn't normally a camera woman, but my point is, Harold, yes, I will show you the new glasses.
I like this. You've been great, by the way, on social media. You had a stretch of tweets recently where you were just, it was weird. I wasn't sure if you were coming after me and my job. They were very straight. There was no commentary. We're showing some of them. It's like, Jon Jones is moving to heavyweight. Ciryl Gane has been announced as Jon. It was just very, what is going on here with ththese tweets? Francis Ngannou relinquished his title. That was it. Just straight.
Just
news.
A troll move. Just a troll move. Like later today, I'll announce that, Khabib is retired. Like just waiting until the news is no longer news, then put it out. I mean, people thought it was funny. I thought you were going to ask me about my Jim Gray tweets.
Yes, that was next. Okay.
I find him to be an extremely dishonest man. I find him to be an extremely unhonorable man. I do not like at all that he tried to take great athletes and give them a bump over the head. I mean, I watched what he did to Pete Rose. Pete thinks he's there to do a friendly interview. He's invited back to a ball game. His entire life has been turned upside down and shaken. He's going to do an interview with a guy he trusted in Jim Gray. Jim waits till they're live, and he humiliates Pete Rose, who already, this is like a guy getting out of jail, and then you throw stones at him. It's really a bad thing to do. But my problem with it, and he did this to several people, but my problem with it is Jim didn't go get those interviews, Errol. If you ever see me interview somebody, I lined that up. I contacted them. I brought in the cameras. I set the scene. I got the waivers. So if I want to go be rude to that guy, that's my guy. That's going to hurt my Rolodex and my reputation. But if this is what I want to do, go ahead and do it. The repercussions, right? That's the checks and balances. When Jim gets brought in by a different network and somebody else used their reputation there to get Pete there. Somebody else brought the case. Somebody else set the backdrop of Wrigley Field. Somebody else did all of this, and he comes in and double crosses them. That's the part I didn't like. And I don't have a problem if you want to be confrontational with the guy. When you get brought into a boxing ring and you want to get mouthy with Floyd as a way of showing that you're somebody, when you got a check to be there and didn't set it up in the first place, it's a problem. And Jim Gray came out. I mean, this really was terrible stuff. It's terrible because it's dishonest. And he's got good men and women over at Fox News, right? Brian Kilmeade, who at one point in my life I would call a friend. To watch Brian be fooled by this guy, and there's Gray, and he's talking about Tom Brady's retirement. And Brian Kilmeade says, yeah, but Jim, is this one real? And Jim tells them, yeah. I mean, got real somber, Ariel. Got real somber, kind of like, the family and Jim got together, and they prayed, and they got their answer. It got real somber. It's real tough, and he just wanted Brian to know that football's hard, Ariel. It's hard. It's just not something that you can play. And at this point in Tom's life, he's going to move on. He doesn't know. None of us know. I'm the only one in all of sport. When Tom Brady retired the last time, when he was doing his parade, I tweeted out he's going to play next year. Only me. I didn't get credit for it. And now you have Jim, who's likely right. I could say the same thing, that this really is real. I get backed up by Tom, who's saying it. History says it's probably true. But the bottom line, he doesn't know. He's crossing his feet. He has no idea. He's not an expert. He's not an insider. And you won't have athletes vouch for the guy. You'll have athletes that say what I said, which is he is dishonest. I never agreed to interview with him. He never spoke to me. Somebody else got me there, and then he tried to embarrass me to make himself look good. That's the truth.
Where does this vitriol towards him come from?
Well, it has to do with you. I don't know how much I want to say. I feel like it's your story, but it has to do with you. It has to do with Conor McGregor. It has to do with New York and the bus accident. I mean, I have different things.
It has to do with me?
I kind of just laid it out.
Okay.
I told you that he's not setting up the interviews. He didn't ask Pete Rose to be there.
That. But you're really fired up. You take this personally. You tweet about him a lot. I know you tweeted about the Fox thing recently. So I wasn't sure if there was a personal thing that happened between you guys. I appreciate if it has anything to do with me. I mean, it just goes to show once again.
No, I just observed it. But it's just an underhanded thing to do. It's very underhanded.
By the way,
somehow got himself in the fight world, which is a very coveted crowd. I mean, we're very tough.
Yeah.
It really is hard to break in with us. You get a guy like him that we've allowed to break in purely out of niceness. I mean, I know that it's boxing. He's not a boxer. He doesn't know boxing. I know you more than anybody doesn't want to hear that. Don't tell me I can't cover it. But he wasn't in it. He wasn't a baseball player. He wasn't a football player. He wasn't a coach. He wasn't a cheerleader. He had nothing to do with anything. I would suspect he had a dad or an uncle that worked at a network that gave him the job because he's really quite talentless, but he's a liar on top of everything else. If I come out, I'll tell you all the time. I'll tell you I got felonies. I'll tell you I robbed banks. I will tell you the whole thing. I'm open about it. He is so dirty, he even makes a guy with a shady moral accomplice like me take a look at him and go, dude, you're dirty.
It says it. But by the way, I just wanted to let you, I don't know if you know this, he does host a Sirius show with Tom Brady. Did you know that?
I know he thinks that he does. I know that Tom comes in. I know that the one time that they had any kind of a question that was all tough, Tom Brady, who doesn't use profanity, used countless profanity.
Right, yeah, that was true.
I should call it countless. I can count to 2. My point is, no, I don't know how close those guys are. And you want to know the real truth? If Tom Brady knew what a charlatan, if Tom Brady heard what I just said right now, that's a charlatan who never even lined up those interviews, who someone else, everything he's ever done was work that someone else did, and he stood there and took the credit. Tom Brady knew that. He probably wouldn't be sitting with him. Gray has come out after all these years and made it look like he was there the day they created the Olympics, like he was there the day they decided a football was going to be out of pigskin. That is how he's presented himself. It's not true. It's just not true.
Speaking of interesting characters, do you mind if I ask about your good friend Douglas Crosby? You've had him on the podcast a couple of times over the past month and a half or so. What do we make of him? And do you think he ever judges a major fight ever again?
Yeah, I do think so. I think he could run this out a lot quicker than perhaps he thought. When you get in a storm like that, I mean, your world kind of stops. And you think everyone cares about it. You think everyone's thinking about it. You think there's no way out. Once you get through the storm, you look back and you realize, man, nobody even knew that was going on but me. So, I only share that. I think in Douglas's world, it was bigger. I think this hurt his feelings. And I think he had the right for that to hurt his feelings, right? I mean, you come out and judge. These judges really don't get credit. They damn sure don't get money. But then when it goes the other way, like you might be able to live without the praise. But when you're taking heat and you can't defend yourself, I think it's probably a hard spot. I do think he judges again. We don't speak anymore, by the way.
Why?
I helped. Well, it has to do with this. I helped him get a message out.
Yeah.
He just came to do a podcast, and he didn't like how it was done. And that's it. He let me know that in a text, and now when I text him, it comes back green, which means he blocked me. And that's been a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Pretty hard to get this one back. It was such a small deal that if our friendship could be broken over him not liking what he said on a podcast, it's tough, man. I don't really know how you patch that boat, but I would listen if he wanted to apologize. I'd listen. I care about him.
Did you have him on a second time, though?
Yes, I had him on. And it's always tough, right? It's very tough to take somebody else's perspective. Like, just by example, there was a period of time where they had taken my license away. I was off of TV. I mean, there was a period of time where I was going to make $1 was a really challenging question. And I started a podcast. And so, but it became serious to me. And and I got very competitive, and it got very big. It also helped me to sustain. It was a big deal to me. And there's a team that comes with it. And there's a facility. And there's a studio. There's a lot of things that, to me, matter. So he comes on my podcast way back then. He begged to come on. I'm fine with that. But then when he comes on, he doesn't want to answer any questions, and he doesn't want to do MMA, and we're live. And then he even brings an assistant, Jim, and we end up talking about chocolate and strawberry ice cream. I mean, the whole thing got really weird, but it only bothered me from a perspective of, okay, you're showing me what you think about what I do and what I've created. You don't care and don't take it serious, but it's what I do, and I still owe this piece, and I put it out, and now it's terrible because of you. That bothered me. So we went many years where he didn't come back on. Then he pleads with me to come on. I said, man, you don't have to do this. He said, well, Ariel said something. I said, Douglas, I can get you in contact with Ariel. I'm sure Ariel would have you on. You can go even with him. I really do believe I can make that happen. He said, no, I don't want to go on. Let me do your show. Hey, are you sure about this? He wants to do it. So we come in. I don't do Zoom interviews. So I've got a new tech person here, and we're going to do Zoom. He comes on. The screen is black. I said, Douglas, I can't see you. He says, I'm not going to show my face. I said, Douglas, it's a YouTube show. He says, I don't have to show my face. There's another example on there on YouTube where they don't show the guy's face. Oh, God. Yeah. All right. So now when it gets to the producer, Ryan makes a decision and says, we're not going to sacrifice our integrity enough to have an interview with a blank screen. So we switch it over to to audio only. And it's one of these things where I've got to bring special people in. A special podcast. I come out on Wednesdays and Fridays. I bring this out on a Thursday. This was all for him. This all done for him, which he didn't take serious. And then he wasn't happy how it went. And it does try to tie back into Troy. And Troy also does podcasts for Weidman. So when there was an edit within the piece, Douglas had decided Troy was compromised through his relationship with Weidman, that I was part of it and that I was representing Ray Longo. And it was really hard to hear. Like I didn't have a response. It was such craziness. I said, I'm going to delete it now. And I did. I took it down. Not very many people heard it, but we haven't spoke since. That's just what happened.
Holy shit. I mean, in a way, I love you, right? I actually consider you one of my closest friends in this business. And you went so inside baseball there that I don't even think 99% of the audience knows anything that you like. They don't know Troy here. Right. I mean, Troy is the guy, my producer, ESPN, that works.
But the 1% will love that.
Yes, that was great. That was the Weidman thing. It was
right.
Tremendous. All right. Well, I guess
it was a big deal to me. I mean, Douglas is a big part of my company. He's a big part of my social life. I mean, I go all day visiting, and for him to just decides unilaterally. I had some business things with his son, but they went really well. It was in crypto. I'm pretty good at crypto. I mean, they were getting some pretty big checks. That all got cut off. A relationship with his mother, with his girlfriend, they all took his side. It's like, guys, you can't be rational enough to tell him this doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. First off, you don't know why that was edited. Second off, you don't know whose call it was. But in the most salacious of circumstance, it couldn't be bad. In your most creative and salacious of circumstance, why that audio was edited, it couldn't be bad. Could be all the way down to a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. But it couldn't be bad. You couldn't even create a scenario where it was nefarious. Ended. 15-year friendship.
That's crazy. He'll come
That's not
back.
Cool.
Yeah, no. I mean, I always thought it was kind of weird that you were friends with him to begin with, if I'm being honest. But maybe it's for the best. Sorry.
I tell you, I thought it was deeper though. You wonder why I was there for him in his hard times. I thought the relationship was deeper.
And there's no one more loyal. There's no one more loyal than you.
I started coming back on green. It's like, oh, he's blocked me.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry about that. On a positive note, and I won't keep you much longer, I promise, but I do want to ask you about Saturday. What was that like being among, some people who you idolize, right? I mean, there's Randy in there, there's legends there who were before your time. To be a part of that scene, to be in there, I was a little bit critical. I thought you guys should have come out first. I thought, I don't know if you saw that, I thought they should have done like a whole pride thing. But in the end, it was beautiful, hence the reason why I want it up there forever. What was it like for you?
Well, I love the suggestion you just had. That was all done by Coker. He didn't have like a producer, a director, a creative arm doing it. He all of that was done by, he's the one that called each and every one of us, got us in that section. He personally walked over. He personally said, here's when you're going to go in. So I only share that because he probably really liked that idea you just said. That would be pretty cool. And for me, it was great. Those are the guys that I look up to, So to be there with Dan and be there with Randy and be able to share that moment, I was a big wrestling fan before I was a fight fan. So I followed Mark Coleman. I followed him all, to the Olympic Games in 1992. So to be there, and I sat right next to Matt Hughes, I got to catch up a lot. By the way, Matt, it's not a way to say this that's overly sensitive, so forgive me in advance. I got to tell you, Errol, he's great. I mean, he can think. Like, it might take him a second to get it. He's doing really good from a mental standpoint. Cool. I was talking about the Midlands back in 1994, weight classes, opponents, scores. He remembered it all. And I thought that was cool. I think that people would like to hear that. When I text with Matt, right back to you, it's all spelled correctly. Yeah, his mind is doing a lot better than I think some of the reports said.
Any is it like kind of wild, like how did I end up here? Do you have a moment like that? Like, these are the guys, these are the legends. And I know for a minute, like maybe you thought that, oh, do I belong here? You do belong here, or there. And if there was a Hall of Fame, you would be in the Hall of Fame. But I'm wondering if there's any part of you that has like this sort of like, because I know the way you think, an imposter syndrome where you're like, do you feel that way, or do you puff your chest out and you're like, no, F yeah, I do belong among these guys?
No, I felt that way. Okay. I felt like, well, this is really the class of the who's who. And, those that were kind of the same age, their opportunity came first. So their career and lives in the sport kind of came before mine. I think we all as humans tend to look to the guys that came before us and think that they're better. So, yeah, I do look at those guys. Those were the guys whose tapes I was watching. Those were the guys I was trying to break down. But I have had those moments in my career, Errol. Being with a walk that I always admired, and then I'm right here with the same walk. And it is awesome. Quite frankly, when that happens, it's awesome.
Can I ask you about something that has been on my mind? And some people get mad when I bring this up, but you love it and I love it. And we love this part of the game. We had a little bit of a debate a few months back about who's the best promoter in combat sports. And you maintain it's still Dana White. And, I respect you for that opinion. I mean, do you know where I'm going with this?
I don't know, but the mere fact that you would phrase the question like possibly it's not Dana White, I do find funny. But please finish your point, and then I'll ridicule you. Go ahead.
On the dais, Saturday night, people want to offer a million excuses. Oh yeah, a big fight on Saturday in Perth, Western Australia. Forgets Islam's name, the supposed number 2 pound for pound. Forgets his name. Then is on the McAfee show yesterday. Doesn't say his name. I don't know if this is personal or not because Islam, criticized the promotion or that lack thereof. But this is, I mean, come on. Where's the passion? Where's the fire? This is the reason why, like, these guys need the fire, right? They're not household names. I don't buy for a second that this is going to, she said this is challenging a Conor fight in terms of pay-per-view sales. It's not. There's no way. It's maybe my most anticipated fight of the first quarter, but there's no way just because, they're not the biggest names, and they would tell you that themselves. How could you defend this? How could you defend this type of lack of promotion?
And I think this topic ties in with your last one. I think Dana is as guilty as what you suggested that I do, where you end up in a situation and don't quite know where you fit in. He forgets he's the boss. He forgets he's the most powerful. He forgets that his words could hurt somebody while they're, he's like, well, you said it about me. I didn't care. It's like, yeah, but the positions are different. He misses that. I mean, he's just a street kid from Boston on the inside. He does forget that sometimes. And I share that with you because I don't think that he had to argue. Went on Jim Rome and he argued against Maklachev's statement that it was being under-promoted. And Dana really laid it face out. I mean, that offended him. You're acting as though I wouldn't do my job. It offended him. Go, no, Dana, wait a minute. First off, we don't really know what Makhachev said or meant, right? That's through interpreters. Second, and I think maybe even more importantly is it wasn't a direct insult, but that's how Dana took, this is a destination fight and I bring this together and somehow I'm not doing my end of it. And I don't know that what Michael Chet was wrong from his perspective. I mean, I can tell you here in Oregon where I live, we have not promoted the fight. Now on a national scale we have, and Dana argued that on an international scale was more where it was, and that Michael Chet was stuck in a Dagestan gym. I wouldn't know the difference, but I think what Michael Chet said was helpful. I mean, it got us talking about it days later. There's nothing more helpful in press than something that has a carryover effect. So I thought he could have taken it a different way. It surprised me that he really wanted to defend that.
But by the way, it's not 1991. If he's in a gym in Dagestan or in an igloo in Antarctica, we all have a phone, and this is the way fights are promoted these days. YouTube channels, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. So to say, oh, he doesn't know what we're doing over here, what is that? Like, what is it going to be on? It's going to be on the CBS channel this evening at 11 o'clock. They're going to run a promo. Like, what is he talking about? That's how fights are promoted. Here, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, social media. So I just thought the excuse or the retort was a little bit flat. And in fact, if I'm Islam, I'm actually a little bit more offended by that excuse. What, in Dagestan, I can't gauge whether or not this is being promoted? If you look at their feed right now, 75% is about some slap league, right? It's more about slap league than it is about 284 and Islam and Volk.
I'll share this that your audience might find interesting, but Dana will talk before fights about how this is trending, where this is going to go. This is going to be the biggest ever. Just to share some of those numbers, that's not just an opinion or see how many likes and comments there are, though likes and comments are helpful. There's also something called commercial sales. Now, a commercial sale would be a local bar that's going to hold the event. So they got to go through Johan Promotions. They got to order that early. They can't order it the night of, like a fight fan at home can just push it. They got to order it early. So then you track your commercial sale. Oh, wow. We've got more than ever, or we're in third most than ever. I'm just sharing with you where the promoter does start to have a good idea. Only Dana knows how quick that venue sold out. Only Dana knows if they had to adjust ticket prices, if they gave them to DJs, or if they sold them and they sold them in advance. So I'll just share with you, there are some trends that you really can follow. Can't remember a time that Dana White has bluffed. So for him to come out and say this is trending to be a top 5 fight ever, could even compete with Conor. Conor's got records 1 through 10, just so you understand. And the first 3, he came in and beat it himself. So they only do a 10 list, but he's got them all. He got those after I retired, though. I should tell you, sure. I had a couple of them. He came in, though, and so Dana does have a pretty good basis. And if Islam didn't have that and Dana got defensive and want to correct it to Rome, he's just a human. I don't know that he was wrong.
Love you. One of your all-time great appearances, except for saying you can't remember the last time Dana White bluffed. I mean, he literally just said Francis Ngannou was scared of Jon Jones, among 1,000 other things over the past few months. But other than that line, I thought you were on. I thought this was an A+ appearance. Am I wrong?
You're suggesting that Dana White, who has won 14 out of 14 Man of the Year awards, the same award that you, my friend, are 14 and 13. It's not greatly a debate. He just happens to be the best at this. I wish that you wouldn't look silly.
It's not a legacy. I'm not talking about legacy.
Audience knew that you were fair and objective.
It's not a legacy title right now. I'm saying who right now is the best. It's like if I say right now Alex Volkanovski is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, it doesn't take anything away from Anderson Silva or Fyodor or GSP. I'm talking about right now. There was once a time where that was the case. It's no longer the case. And this is example 3,498.
I get the distinction. I understand your point, and I stand with DW.
I told Mysterious Frank, my audio guy, beforehand, I was like, can you count how many times Chael, because you're the only person I know that does this, and it's why I love you, physically, manually crosses your leg. You're the only person I know that actually physically has to cross his own line. How many times do you think he did it, Frank,
17.
today? 17 is the count. 17 times in this spot. This is one of the many reasons why we love you. Check out Chael Sonnen, his YouTube channel, you know it. The podcast, you know it. The Instagram, the Twitter. Still not following me, by the way, all these years later. You don't follow anyone. You don't even look at your DMs.
Hey, I'm going to send you my glasses tonight, by the way. All right, I feel like you've been trying to get rid of me. Goodbye, Turkey. My attorney will be in touch.
There he is. I love it. I love it.